So thank you for joining me and taking time out of what I'm sure is a super busy day, but I've got some great content for you, and congratulations on the choice to invest in you and your business. Um, and let me ask, who's hitting Black Friday shopping this week? We had a lot of comments in the group today about that. So that's awesome. I think we have I think by the response I got, it's looking like I don't know who in the heck's out there shopping. I think a lot of people from our group are not among them. So I know I steer clear myself. So, guys, thanks again for being here today and taking time out of what I know, again, is a busy, busy day for you. There we go. Comments. Okay. So thanks, Kenan. Great, Mary. Thanks for being here, guys. So I'm going to be sharing information as always. My ultimate goal for years as I've shared information is for you to digest it, ponder. So kind of think about it, apply. So how does this apply to my current circumstance, and then act? That is always my goal. I really tend to share strategies that are pretty quickly actionable. Yes, you're going to need to prioritize them in. You have a lot going on, but I request, strongly urge you to be tenacious action takers. You know, that's where the magic happens, right? It's not by digesting the information, being a consumer of information, but it's by taking action from what you learn. And there are going to be different nuggets of information for each of you at each time. So sometimes, certain parts of what I talk about are going to hit some people, and other parts are going to hit others. So, but as you digest, ponder, apply, and act, let's not get stuck in what, you've heard the phrase analysis paralysis, right? So if we ponder too long, we digest too long, we think and plan and strategize about how we'll eventually apply what I'm learning, the action isn't happening. So it feels like we're being productive, but the action is where it happens. So digest, ponder, apply, act. No analysis paralysis. Do take the time necessary, but then get in action. And for those of you who don't already know me, I just want to do a quick introduction that my name is Kirsten Ross. I'm an author, a podcast host, speaker, and CEO of Focus Forward Coaching. And we help leaders defeat team drama to 4x your productivity, wow your customers, and improve your bottom line by sharing simple, actionable strategies, systems, and mindset shifts. And today I am covering a little bit more of a mindset shift, my little tongue teaser there, mindset shift strategy. So today's content's a little bit different, but my goal for you is by the end of our quick time together today that you're going to have the motivation needed to hurdle into discomfort of change and take the specific steps that I'll outline. And today's topic is leading well while your message makes some mad. And I know from the questions I've been getting from you that accountability, team follow through is top of mind always. And I also know that from my almost 30 years of coaching leaders. It tends to be one of the biggest and most important challenges to overcome. I am going to be talking about accountability and follow through and sharing tons of strategies about all of that in my 5-day masterclass that's beginning December 9th. But in the meantime, there's always more to share because it's such an important topic. And I can tell you, if you struggle with the leading well while your message might make some mad, that you're not alone. And over almost 30 years of working with leaders, so many love to keep everyone happy. And hey, it's a great and admirable goal, isn't it? But unfortunately, it doesn't always jive with leadership or parenting for that matter. And there are some ironic similarities. But the goal is to find business success And it's not always possible to achieve that and keep everyone happy. And that's the reality. And I always say that you are who you are in your life and in your work. So we can work on one and we'll impact both. And the worrying about keeping people happy or the concern that they might be angry with us tends to creep into all areas of life. But for today, I'm going to focus on business kinds of things. But just know that if this is a struggle for you, that you absolutely can make life better in both areas by working on this one. So here are some clues that you might be avoiding conversations or messages that might make people mad. These are excuses I hear over and over again as I'm working with leaders. Hey, Stephanie, Kathy, thanks for being here. Eric. All right. Thanks, guys. All right. So the first little clue is you tell yourself that employees, volunteers should just know what to do. I shouldn't have to tell them how to do their job. Or you might think, I role model exactly what to do. They're just going to watch me and know. So you have that belief or that hope that you won't have to say anything. So you tell yourself, and again, remember we talked about the amygdala and the excuses the amygdala creates so that we don't have to change or do things that are uncomfortable. And that's a little false belief that our lizard brain can be telling us. And but it serves us, right? If it's uncomfortable to speak up, well, hey, I have good reasons. The other is you've resigned yourself to the belief that if you want things done right, or maybe even done at all, you just have to do them yourself. So you have this thought process that, you know what, and you might even say they're just too busy, or they've got too much going on, or they don't do it as well as I do. But whatever you tell yourself that leaves you feeling like the weight of all the work lands on your shoulders, that's an excuse that's stopping you from speaking up where you might need to. You're constantly overwhelmed. I mean, if you have that belief that you need to do the work, if it's going to get done or done right, you have a lot on your plate. You have resentment building inside towards members of your team. You look over and think, oh my gosh, you're not nearly as overwhelmed, or I'm working all this extra time and you're skating out right smack dab on time and I'm frustrated with you. You're afraid to have performance correction conversations. And I use that term very intentionally. It's just a correction conversation. We don't have to call it discipline, even if it might be part of a discipline process. I will be going into lots of detail about that stuff in the 5-day masterclass. But so you kind of, again, tell yourself, I'm too busy. I have too much going on. And then what I would hear from my leaders that I was working with, first they would say, I didn't have time this last week, because I would totally coach them on having a correction conversation with an employee that needed to happen. The next week they would say, you know what, I had just too much going on, and they could list all the things and all the reasons. And then the next week, same thing. By about week 3 is when they would switch it to, you know what, it happened so long ago, it feels weird to bring it up now. It's too late. I'll wait until next time. But those are just excuses. And the truth is, you're spending way more time dealing and overcoming and filling in the gaps of people who aren't performing well than you would if it was addressed. The next is you're stuffing feelings and you're not even aware of them. Maybe you don't even know what to think about when I say, how do you feel about that? You minimize your own wants and needs. You say, it's not that big a deal. I can just work late. I was going to go to my kids' play, but I'm not going to have time. I'm just going to stay here. It's okay. I want to fill in for, Sally Sue, who needs to do thus and such, and that's really important for her, and it's okay. You use excuses to justify away your need to speak up. And if this is you, if any of those ring true, if you, in your heart of hearts, get real, then it's a possibility that this is one for you to address. Hey, Laura. Oh, we have a mayor in the house. Laura is a new mayor. All right. So I can't tell you the number of times again that I've helped my clients work through these kinds of challenges. And there are many unintended consequences. And I'm going to dive into these because I said by the end of our time together, I want you to feel the motivation to go through into that discomfort of change. And motivation is what helps us. And sometimes we're not really aware of the unintended consequences. And so you may or may not be aware of the personal consequences. Let's outline those first, because this would be you paying attention to your own feelings. So you have resentments, overwhelm, frustration, disappointment. Everyone lets you down. No one follows through the way you want. There's chaos that comes with trying to keep everyone around you happy so that you can feel okay. There's the lost energy as you try to modify your speaking, modify your message, make sure that no one's getting mad, all of those kinds of things. Those are the personal consequences. Okay, but here are some of the unintended consequences that you might not be aware of. Now, first, you might not be aware of your own personal ones, so kind of dive into those. Write them down if you need to. Again, that's what that pain of staying the same is what you need to dive into the change. And sometimes if you're not aware, then it's not going to happen. So we're going to build the pain, not for you to sit in the pain, but for it to catapult you forward, to motivate you into the change. So an unintended consequence, you rob others of their opportunity to excel. So if you are staying silent about where you need members of your team to perform at a higher level, you rob them of the opportunity that conversation might give them to up their performance. If you got really clear with them and they had the opportunity to make different choices or the motivation to learn new skills, do better, be better, they really might excel. And I can tell you from experience with many of my clients that has happened. Employees will rally, not all, but you know what? Those who won't rally are really the minimum. So most will rally. Remember, they want to feel like they're doing a good job. They want to know that they're doing a good job for real, not just because you're telling them that. And if you give them the gift of being specific about where they need to tweak their performance, many will rally and appreciate the feedback, especially if you're including the steps that they need to take to get where they need to get. So how often are you saying, I just don't have time to have that correction conversation, and now think I am robbing that person of the opportunity to make better choices at work? If you're not having the conversations that you need to have, you're effectively allowing your employees to make the business decisions. Stop and think about that for a second. You make decisions. Check in the comments quick. You make decisions, you communicate those decisions, and then your employees don't follow through on those decisions, where they are veering away from the decisions that you've made, how you've asked them to do their work, when you've asked them to show up for work. If they are doing something different, they are the ones making the decisions for how work happens. If people are showing up late, leaving early, taking longer lunches, and again, I'm not trying to turn anyone into a dictator who is clock watching and making sure that every minute is accounted for. But again, I've worked in enough businesses where I see that it becomes the norm to just kind of skate in when you want and make excuses. And there have been employees who are like, oh, it's fine. I can show up whenever I want, because no one's ever told them that something else is required. And so if that's the belief and the actions, your team is choosing when work starts. Your team, if they're not following the processes that you've outlined, they're deciding what the processes are. If they're not using that new equipment that you've invested in, they're the ones who are deciding how work happens. If they have attitudes that you would not like them to use while dealing with your patients, your clients, your customers, then they are deciding what it should feel like to do business with you. Now, do you want them to make those decisions, or do you want you or other leaders to make those decisions? Because the truth is, they do not, I'm almost positive, have the same perspective that you do, the same knowledge, the breadth of perspective, right? You've probably had meetings with other leaders and you're deciding things, the vision of the entire organization. And you also know that what you are focusing on is to the good of the business. Some of their decisions might be what works best for them. So is that how you want business decisions made? Do you want them made based on how you would like things done, based on what's best for the business or what's best for a few individuals in the organization? The next one is people can't trust you. So this is often surprising for my leaders who are dealing with this challenge. Like, what? I just want people to be happy. But the thing is, remember, most of our communication is nonverbal. And even if we're saying things that we think will try to make people happy, a lot of times they know that we're not being real. And so if you tell someone, no, you're doing a great job, but they know that you don't always tell them the truth, they're like, well, am I though? Am I really doing a good job? I'm not sure. So and integrity is so important in leadership. And integrity doesn't mean happiness, right? Integrity just means truth. Integrity means sometimes speaking what is difficult for others to hear and being okay with not being the favorite at the moment or with someone having hurt feelings. But remember that sometimes those hurt feelings can turn into the action that you need inside your business. Hurt feelings, again, can help someone rally and feel like, oh my gosh, I thought I was doing a good job and I'm not, and I'm mortified, and I'm going to make different choices going forward. So remember these unintended consequences that can happen when you are staying silent to keep people happy versus worrying because you're worrying that they might be mad. So, are you feeling motivated at this point? And I can tell you from experience, from so many of my clients, there are a million stories I could share about, a leader with their team. I'm ready to close up shop. I just want to shut the doors. I'm so frustrated with my team. I can't get them to do what I need. And then I walk them through how to hold the team accountable and have consequences and follow through. And one, again, a lot of times employees rally. Two, sometimes they self-select out. That's a little longer way of saying that they resign. And that is a beautiful thing, honestly. I mean, yes, then you have to replace someone, but you're going to use great strategies to replace them with someone wonderful who is aligned with your business mission and goals and what you want it to feel like to do business with you. And it's okay. And if they resign and you get that signed resignation letter, then that's them. There's no termination, anything. There's no coming back. They've resigned. I can tell there was this example of a supervisor who had a very angry employee. He was the angriest employee that I've had to deal with. And in reading his employee file, my blood was boiling because he was so entitled. He was showing up whenever he wanted. And when she would have correction conversations, he would literally start pounding his fist on the desk, start screaming and swearing at her. And then he would rush out her door and throw items off of people's desks as he ran out of the office. I call that a stay stuck strategy. Highly defensive employee. And so she was afraid to have correction conversations with him. I mean, very mad, right? And so she just didn't know how to handle it. And so his behavior had continued to be horrendous. And he had this entitlement of, well, I can show up whenever I want and I can sit on, ESPN all day instead of taking great care of your customers. And I walked her through specific strategies of what she was going to say. I sat in the meeting with her, and she did phenomenally well because she stood up to him calmly and had everything written and just read it to him and set the tone for the meeting ahead of time. And within about a week and a half, he self-selected out. Beautiful. So you can have great outcomes by speaking up. So now that you've collected the pain, let's talk about the 5 steps to help you overcome worrying about making people mad. And the first is collect the pain. So I hope that I've helped you do that already. There will be a recording of this, and you might need to go back, and I want you to take notes and really, again, not sit in the pain, not wallow in the pain, not get mad at yourself that you haven't taken action or done things differently or better in the past. It's okay. Give yourself grace. It's that old saying, when we know better, we do better. So it's not a beat yourself up moment, but it's a collect the pain so you can ignite the motivation to go into the discomfort of change. So go through those unintended consequences, go through your own personal consequences, and really think about what designing a life around making sure people are always happy has done. The next, determine what you want and need from your employees. And make it a practice to do check-ins with yourself. Am I paying attention? Am I excusing away? Right? Am I telling myself I don't have time to have the correction conversations? Are those excuses stopping you? Because you're not going to stop that little voice in your head, but you don't have to listen to it. So just remember, when it says like, oh, you don't have time, hold the phone. I'm wasting tons of time dealing with this ongoing, and the rest of the team is frustrated, and I'm going to deal with it. I'm going to carve out the time. That's just an excuse. So determine what you want and need, and then start speaking up. It's okay to start with small correction conversations with employees. Maybe it's about cell phones, which isn't, people do get defensive about their cell phones, but that might be an easier one. Find some easier people for a short time. And remember, in one of our other strategy sessions, I shared that sometimes when we're thinking like, oh, I haven't had any correction conversations, I really need to hold some people accountable, it's easier to talk to the rock stars who appreciate feedback. So you don't want to go too long with talking to rock stars for practice. But do stick with initially, some employees who maybe could use some correction, but they're not going to be that angry person or that really, really defensive person. Some of those people who are harder. So start with some easier ones. Maybe start in your own life. Start by saying no to a telemarketer or something, but just start to speak up. And then the fourth is gather successes. And here's the thing. The fears that you might have about speaking up are almost always worse than what the reality will be when you do speak up. So you will have successes. Write them down if you have to, or keep them in a spreadsheet or in a Word document so that you can look back. Begin to build success. Success brings confidence. Confidence bursts through those barriers that fear creates. And before you know it, you'll be having these correction conversations and speaking up with your team and igniting follow through like a rock star. And then the last is build momentum. So as you get better at it, you'll do them more often. And the thing is, when you have these little correction tweaks ongoing as they come up, you're not creating this big bucket of resentment first. You're not letting things sit and fester forever. You're addressing them. And when there's just a little thing here or there, it's a lot easier than when you have the buildup of potential volcanic anger of someone who has frustrated you over time with a million little things. If you learn to start speaking up as the little things happen, they stay little. The other thing is, you become a leader who your team knows will follow through. If there's a rule you've put in place or a process you want them to use or an attitude that you need them to authentically share with your clients, your patients, your customers, they will realize that they need to follow through. It's not something that you just said and then is gone forever after that moment. And they will start to follow through quickly. You'll actually have less conversations to have because they'll realize that the follow through is required and that when you make a request or dictate a new rule or anything else, they need to follow through. Checking any comments, any ahas that you've had today, any questions for me. We have a little bit more time together, and I want to encourage you that if you have any questions, I've got my comments right here, and I am happy to share any strategies or ideas for your specific circumstance. And while I'm waiting to see if there are any comments, let me just do a really quick recap. And the first is just all the way back to that I hope that you are taking this information in and then doing something with it. So digest it, ponder it. So think about it, think how it applies to your own circumstance, then create an action step that you're going to follow through on and act. So, and then, oh, well, thank you. Ken, and I'm sorry if I'm saying your name wrong. Kenan, you can shoot me a thumbs up if I'm saying I have a radiant smile and great enthusiasm. So I really appreciate that. Thank you so much. You know, I'm not looking at you guys like when I speak, I have an audience in front of me and I get to interact, you know, with all the nonverbals. And you know, I'm looking out a beautiful window, I will say. I'm looking into my backyard, so that's nice. But I am not looking into your faces, so I really appreciate that. That's great. All right, so let's also summarize. Oh, and I'm saying his name right. Perfect. Kenan. Okay, so let's summarize the unintended consequences. So there are all the personal unintended consequences, right? Building up resentment, having frustration, feeling disappointed with the people in your life, the chaos that comes from trying to do everything yourself, the overwhelm, the frustration of working so hard to make everyone happy and then they actually aren't anyway. The lost energy spent trying to track and modify your messages and try to guess at what's going to make someone mad and what's going to make them happy and are they going to be okay, and all of your energy outward. Stuffing your true feelings while you plaster on a smile. That takes energy, guys. All right, and then the other unintended consequences outside. You rob others of their opportunity to excel. You are effectively allowing your employees to make decisions for the business. And does that make good sense? No. And people have a hard time trusting you because in their gut, in their heart, they know that they're not certain when you say they're doing a good job that you mean it. And then those steps to take to ignite to move you. So that's the gathering the pain is the first. That's going to create the momentum and the motivation. And then the specific steps are the 1, collect the pain. So that list is what's going to help you collect the pain. 2, determine what you need and want from your employees. How do you need them to act? What attitudes, what follow through, what processes, what time do they need to be there? When can they be on their cell phones? When do those cell phones need to be tucked away? Start speaking up. You'll be amazed at the reactions that you get, the fear that you have. I just want to say I 100% guarantee, but I can't say 100% guarantee, but 99.999% guarantee that the fear that you have is way greater than any actual reality is going to be when you speak up. And that most of the consequences, the outcomes of your speaking up are going to be good. So once you start speaking up, start gathering those successes that are inevitable, where someone is grateful, where they follow through, where you start to see, oh my gosh, they're following the processes, they're showing up on time, and then build that momentum as you continue to speak up, work that muscle, and tell your team is following through like a rock star and 4Xing your productivity. So any other questions? Hi, Becky. Thanks so much, guys. So that is it for today. As always, shoot me some questions. They will replay this if you need to. And then those of you who missed it, obviously, and then do a pound replay so that I know that you came after the fact. Any questions that pop up afterwards, you can either DM me or pop them into the comments, even better, because others probably have the same questions. So that'll be great. And don't forget to mark your calendars. December 9th starts our master class where I'm going to walk you through the pillars of productivity. Major stuff. You guys are jumping in early, so you're getting all this extra stuff before the big master class even starts. The next thing is, if there are others who could benefit from the information that I'm sharing here, please invite them. The more the merrier. We want a ton of engaged leaders. I want to help you guys make your big impact in this world. And you get to make bolder, bigger impact if you have teams that are aligned with what you're working to make happen. So let's get as many people as we can. And I'm going to be doing some giveaways actually. So if you want to play, I love to play life like a game and see what I can make happen. So I'm going to have you guys play life like a game in this group, but I'm giving you some prizes. So I'm going to do some Amazon gift card giveaways for the people who bring in the most people. So start making your invitation, shoot me some DMs for who you've added, and let's get more people into our community. All right. So for everyone in the United States, it is almost Thanksgiving here. So happy Thanksgiving. I hope you have a wonderful time with family and friends, and be safe on Black Friday if you venture out there. All right, guys. Thanks so much. Take care. Bye.